Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we're on episode 3 of the guest house. So in this one, we're just going to continue on with the cabinet situation. I have a pretty good idea of where I'm going, but we'll see after we get the first coat on, because you know things always change after the first coat. So thus far, here's what I've got going. I initially had out Mellow White, which is a not quite bright white, but a really good bright. But then I was like, oh, you know what? Pebble Beach is just a little more creamy, but it's like a cool toned cream. I really, really love this color. And I think it will go just a smidge better with, did you guys guess this? Goblin Gray, which is the super deep teal in the Chalk Mountain line. Oh, I love this. It goes a little darker than this. So I think we're going to do that. Lower cabinets are going to be quite a bit darker than the upper cabinets, and it's going to be a blend. Which is why I have out this big Mama Jamma. I've got out quick little lay it on paintbrushes, and then this guy for blending out, because it'll just be a little bit easier with a stiffer brush over all of the raised stencil situation. Kind of get in there, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna see what happens. Wish me luck. So to start with, I'm going to be working on the drawers. They're their own separate entity, and I think they'll be a good starting point. I'm going to do everything in, and then I will come back, pull them out, and get around the edges. But I just kind of want to see where things are going and how they're going to look as I go. It's pretty warm in here right now. So I've got my mister bottle, even though I haven't started blending yet. I'm just going to keep it out just in case. And start with the green. Work my way up, mist the brush first, and see what happens. I would advise most people to put down some kind of drop cloth, but we all know how I feel about this carpet, so yeah, it's fine that I don't have anything down. Why I chose these brushes to lay down the paint is because I can get really sharp, crisp lines with them if I need to. So that's why I chose these guys, because they're really good for that. And they're super inexpensive. They're the Wooster angled brush. They're lovely. I had some of you ask in the last video what I use for raised stencils. My all-time favorite go-to is a joint compound. I get it in the box. I don't get the already done up one. I get the powder in a box. It's the fast formula, and that is my most favorite thing. It's very inexpensive, and I love the results. What I did on these, because it was handy and I wanted to try it out, was actually wall texture. It was in the same form like in a powder, and then I mixed it up myself to the consistency that I liked. I actually did like using it. The difference in the two that I found was that this wall texture, and again, it could be across products because, like I said, I get the quick setup version of the joint compound, and this is just regular wall texture. So it had quite a bit longer open time. So it was really nice to be able to clean my stencil out. Usually the joint compound, I have to work really, really fast to get my stencil cleaned out, or else it's on there. Now see, that's not the best on the wall. But since this has a longer open time, I could kind of get a bit more done with it without fear of it drying on and caking into all of the holes and changing too much of the pattern of the stencil in the smaller areas. So that was nice. And then of course the downside was that I actually had to wait for this to dry overnight to be set up enough to paint. Where the joint compound, I can paint in the same, you know, in like 20 minutes I can be painting it and it works just fine. And so there could be different wall texturizers that set up faster or whatever, I'm not sure. This is just the one that I used, and that was the difference that I noted in them. Okay, so I'm gonna go on now that I have that first one and I love it. I'm gonna speed this up for you so you don't have to, you know, be bored. Speed this up and then I will slow it down once we get up to the top where we're gonna be doing some blendish things. All right, so the top drawer, I just did the solid Pebble Beach, and then all I did was add a stripe of the Goblin Gray to the bottom over the top. And I'm gonna start blending and see where we're at. And then I will move down lighter if I need to, or move up darker if I need to. I'm just kind of seeing what this looks like. And this is going to pull off some of the paint just because it's still very wet, and this is a very stiff bristled brush, but it's fine because this is the first coat and I fully expect it to do that. So, and blending is just making sure your paints meld together. So because the white underneath this, when I added the Goblin Gray over the top, they both marry together really well. And then I'm just using this brush to kind of push it up, going back and forth. You can do the swirly blends up too. And you're just barely touching with the brush. So that's one of the things that I've noticed with the wall texture is that it's much softer than the joint compound, and I don't like that. So you can see here it's starting to get upset. Not a fan of that. So you kind of have to work quickly over it, and this brush is not the best brush to kind of want to keep it on there. So I'm going to try and seal that in again. And if you were using a latex paint, it would be fine because the latex kind of seals it in. This is not a latex paint. This is a water-based paint. I suppose latex is still water-based, but you know, it's a mineral paint. So it's not sealing it the way that a latex would. These bristles are a little softer. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And then do this and gently. And then I'm gonna have to leave this alone and come back because that texture does not like being brushed over. And again, I'm just going super, super light with it because it does not want to be touched. Once I get this sealed with the top coat, I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the last episode that I'm going to use a spa urethane because that'll be a really durable finish for a kitchen. And again, this kitchen isn't used like a typical kitchen, so everything should be right with the world. And you can go back and forth with the colors all you want. Just be mindful that you can mess up the raised stencil or change the color things and you'll have to kind of go back. It's just is what it is. Yeah, so there's that. I actually think I love how dark this is down here because it's kind of like a bright dark, if that makes sense. So I'm only going to bring a teeny tiny bit of the light down into this drawer, and this is going to be the only other place that I do that. I'm going to bring more dark up into this one because I think that's making me happier now, and that way I can get some color on the lower part of those cabinets. And these are all just the thoughts that I'm having as I'm doing this, so it just is what it is. So all I'm going to do here is get this wet. This is already dried. As I said, it's pretty warm in here. Cool. Don't drop your paintbrush. And I'm just gonna add a stripe up here. Not too much. Get it wet, get this brush wet, and brush it out. So that's really, really thin paint that I just did because I added so much liquid. And then this has a mix of the color from up there on it, so it's reactivating with the water as well, helping to blend this out. And this would be much easier with the drawers out, just so you know. And then yeah, so once I get it on here and I like the placement of the color and everything, I will pull the drawers out and then I'll be comfortable going over my second coat with the drawers out. But that way I know what it looks like on here and I know that it'll be fine. Also this, it's a pain, but this is a latex paint and this is literally just going to wipe off with a rag. So I'm not worried about getting stuff on there. Okay, so yeah, I do want to deepen this up some more. And this thing is going to hate me because it does not want any more liquid on it. It's all right. I'm just gonna let it hate me. I'm just going different ways here to get into the raised stencil, not because it's helping me blend, just because it's helping me get in all the areas of the raised stencil. I have another clean brush up there because once I do this, this Pebble Beach brush is going to be a mixed brush. It'll never go back to just Pebble Beach. This one's just a lot softer, so it changes my blend strategy a little. I like blending with these brushes too, it's just different. It's a smaller surface area and you kind of have to keep the lighter color on top of the darker color on bottom or vice versa. And then when you are painting that way, you just have to be mindful of that. Yeah, there's so many different ways to blend, it's insane. This drawer is not going to be perfect because I'm afraid to keep going on it until I get to the second coat, so we're probably going to stop before it's good. And then come back. I feel like I just need to step back and look at it. I don't hate that, but I think I am going to pull the dark up just a little bit higher and bring the light down a little bit lower. But we'll let this dry first. I'll clean off this wall as well. All right, let's get to the other cabinets. All right, I love this so much. It's amazing. Okay, so just to recap, that is where I'm ending it. I like how dark it is, and you can just see a subtle lightness starting to happen on the top faux drawer area there. And then here, it's just too light. So I'm going to redo this side like this for the second coat, because I like this much more. I might even lighten it up just a smidge more on top, but it will be closer to this than that. So yeah, because the tops are gonna be so light, I want so much of them light, I don't want too much down below as well. That way the lightness will draw the eyes up and away from the carpet. Ha, just kidding. All right, so it is the next day. These have had time to dry. I will get to these hopefully tonight, but I'm gonna do something. I'm going to paint the dishwasher. We're gonna see how it holds up. I don't know, but I'm gonna try. I feel like the paint that I use sticks to everything. That is a bit glossy, so I'm going to have to sand it, give it a scuff sand, and I'm just doing the beige portion, but it needs it. So, and then because I've been looking at the hood and I'm like, oh, I need to do something with the hood. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. So it's gonna get painted too, but I don't know, could be dangerous. We're gonna try it. So this is just some used 220. This is what I'm gonna use on that, get it scuff sanded and see what happens. All right, so I have the blend pretty much done. What I've been doing is just taking the blender brush, because the paint was on, it dried overnight. So now with the second coat doing the blend, I feel more comfortable doing this, and it's been just fine. It hasn't been coming off or pulling up any of the texture from the stencil. I'm spraying directly onto the brush, not onto the paint. If you directly spray onto the paint, if you're not going to blend out that entire area, it will leave the little dapple marks, you know, where when you run over it with the brush, it'll pull up the very top layer of paint and you'll be able to see little spots underneath. If you spray directly onto your brush, it will not do that, and it works much better. And then I'm not doing any paint on this. I did the blend as good as I can with the brushes as I was going, and then I'm just taking this and dampening it and then swirling out the rest. And I'm barely touching it because, again, we don't want to break through the first layer of paint. I'm just doing it to blend out the second coat. So that's what I've done here. There's like a little, right there, hold on, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, a little better. Where is this? Right here. So it is helpful if you have, like when I'm looking at this with my eyes, I see something different than what I can see on the camera. On the camera, it looks a little harsher. So it's nice to be able to look at this and see where I can blend out a little more. This right here, I'm actually pretty happy with. It's a bit mottled, which I'm fine. You guys know I love my mottled blends, but we're gonna do something to the top coat that is also going to add just another layer of goodness. So I'm gonna do a blank layer of top coat first. And then you guys know I do the Rust-Oleum metallic accents. This is my favorite metallic that I use. I have the one in seashell. That's my white. I've literally had it for years. I still have quite a bit of it left. It just lasts so long. And I end up doing my glazing dusts and mixing mediums. I mix it with poly and do all that, and it almost always comes out to like this kind of gold pewtery color. Well, I found like that color in this, so I'm pretty excited about it. Anyways, with this, I'm going to first do a regular coat, like I said, of spar urethane. That's what's going on over this for the first coat. Anyways, so I'm going to take the Rust-Oleum metallics. I will then blend some of this with the top coat for the second coat, and then on the third coat, because I will be doing 3 coats because this is a kitchen cabinet situation. Like I said, this one doesn't get used like a typical house would, but I still want to make sure that it's protected. So first layer, plain top coat. Second layer, mixed with some of this. Third layer, we'll wait and figure out what we need to do. Okay, let me get to it. All right, so I have the first coat of the sealer on, and then I went ahead and did like a test spot on this tissue box. So here I've got just sealed with the poly. Here is a mix of poly and the metallic, and here is just straight metallic over the top. So as you can see, the straight metallic is a little aggressive. You can kind of see the color from certain angles. And then this one, you can see it here, but then when you shift it, it turns back to the teal. Well, it looks a lot like that. And then what I do is I brushed it on, and then I took a cloth and dab it out so that it doesn't have the brush strokes, because metallics like to leave a lot of brush strokes. So that's what I'll do here is I will paint it on. I'll work in small sections, so I'll do one door at a time, and then take a towel and kind of dab it off. This is my niece. She's napping. We went on a little walk and she fell asleep, so cameo. Anyway, so to start, I'm just going to mix the metallic. Oh, that lid was not all the way on. Mix a little of the metallic into the poly, and then I'll do the same technique of just rolling it on and then using the small paintbrush to get in every which way. Okay. All right, we are finished with this segment, at least. Nowhere near being done, but I love how the cabinets turned out. I especially love the bottom, just the dark. If I wasn't too worried about everything being too dark at the end, I would most likely carry that whole color up and have it be solid with the glaze over the top, because it is just gorgeous. So the top cabinets could change later on and make them all dark, but I'll have to wait until after I see what it looks like with the wallpaper. I have 3 different wallpapers narrowed down out of billions. Too many wallpapers to choose from. But I have 3 narrowed down. There's only one that is like a legit wallpaper, which is what I want, except for my favorite pattern is a peel and stick, which I don't want, but it's like the best pattern. So I'm kind of going back and forth between 2, and then I have kind of like an oddball third one that I'm like, maybe. So I don't know. I'm still deciding on those. It's really hard to make that choice, and then I'll have to wait for it to get delivered. But then this whole thing here, all up there, will get wallpaper. And then if it's like the wallpaper is going to be dark. So if it is okay, I can leave it and have it look like this, and I think it will be fine. If it can go a little bit darker, I might be shifting colors up. I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh man, I love it. I ended up not having to do the ragging technique. I might go in if I want to add a little more texture and do that, but with the roller, it didn't leave, you know, brush marks like they typically do, and it still has kind of that mottled stuff that I like, that like the ragging technique does. So I kind of got to do it without having to do that whole extra step. That was kind of nice. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to working on other things. Oh, quickly! Let me grab it. Martha, just got your order. I'll package it up. I'm gonna ship it out to you. Thank you so much for shopping the website. Okay, that was all. Thank you guys so much. I so appreciate you. Thanks for following along. Hope you're enjoying this slow going process, and I'll see you next time.